Hi, everyone, and welcome to No Kill in Motion. I'm David Smith from No Kill, Colorado. I'm here with Alan Rosenberg of the New Jersey Animal Observer, Shirley Marsh from Yes Biscuit, and Aubrie Kavanaugh from No Kill Huntsville. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about advocacy and versus trolling, right? We see this a lot online. There's the conversations, not just in animal welfare, but I think conversations online could be tough on almost any subject nowadays. What we're seeing is, and this happened to me just this week, I put out a simple graph showing adoptions versus transfers into Colorado, saying this is an interesting chart. And I got a message back saying that I was disruptive and hateful to some degree. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not sure how that happened. I'm not seeing it more and more. It's just a subject I think we should touch because, we've seen recently there's been some talk about this where advocates are being lumped in as trolls, like that's one group. And I don't think it is. So, Alan, actually, you've taken some guff out there in the past. I know I've seen it. I've watched it. What do you see happening out there today?
Well, as someone who runs a advocacy Facebook page, I'm certainly used to trolling comments and personal attacks against myself. And honestly, usually I'm pretty lenient with that stuff. I usually just let it out there because my belief is that people will see the stupidity of the comments and they'll realize people with those positions really don't have any credibility. Obviously, if something is really, really bad, like someone's threatening violence or something like that, I would delete the comment and try to, keep it cordial as best I can. But my general belief as a page administrator is to have free speech as much as possible and expose people who are stupid. But on the advocacy end, so I think social media in general is a vehicle where stupid things are often said and people act before thinking when they post horrible things. But it is true for us advocates, it is detrimental when someone is associated with the crazies and we're viewed as not having any credibility. And I think it often is a tool used by regressive shelters to discredit no-kill advocates. For example, in Philadelphia recently, there were certainly some comments, I understand, that were threatening towards the executive director of a shelter that was just doing a horrible job and really committed some heinous acts. And the messages or comments by a few people that were really, really bad were then linked to all the real advocates, and the advocates were then were attacked as an angry mob. And I think that doesn't help our movement. So in general, if you're an advocate, keep it clean, stick to the message, and don't get into this crazy stuff where you're attacking people personally or even worse, threatening violence, because that's actually a crime.
Yeah, and I guess, Aubrie, I'm going to go to you. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. How do we separate? How do we clearly set the lines of demarcation where we're like, no, that was advocacy, no, that's hate speech, right? I mean, when it's extreme, it's pretty easy to see, but I think it's where the lines are being blurred out there on people accusing advocates of being, hateful or disruptive or actually, I don't even like the word disruptive because I do like the word disruptive. I do believe being disruptive is a good thing, right? It can be good or bad, but it's always used almost in a bad way, like, oh, by you saying that you're disruptive. But how do we help separate that when someone says, oh, these people are being hateful? Is there, I don't know, is there some clear demarcation, do you think? Or
I think that there's a lot of gray area going on here. I think that there are a few things that we can do, and Alan touched on one of them. We just always have to take the high road. I think that in our advocacy, I think that we always have to focus on the issue of accountability. I think that we should probably try to avoid focusing on the individual people unless they've actually engaged in a crime. Because if we focus on a particular person, like if we had focused on the shelter director in Huntsville, even if she had decided to leave, well, that wouldn't have fixed the systemic issues. So we always took the high road. We were very respectful. We were very diplomatic, and we always focused on the issue and the goals that we were trying to achieve. Having said that, just like you, David, earlier this week, you threw a question out there and somebody called you divisive. I think that is the default position for a lot of people. Once they're aware of the fact that we're engaged in advocacy, they do try to paint us all with the same broad brush. So number one is we have to stay on topic, and we have to channel our inner Spock and just be logical and explain what we want and why we want it and how it's consistent with public values and public expectations. The other thing too is I think that when we see bad behavior, we need to call it out. Ours is a social movement, and I think that in any social movement, you can have people that are trying to affect change in a positive, diplomatic, respectful way, and then you have fringe elements that are out there that are just behaving just in crazy, extreme ways. And we need to call out that behavior when we see it and just say, that's not helpful. That's not us. Now, I don't know that we can really control it other than to call it out for what it is and say it's completely inappropriate. I was thinking of something when Alan was talking. A while ago, I think it was last year, I offered to develop a free website for a guy in a state, and I'm not going to say his name because I was trying to help him. He was trying to advance a companion animal Protection Act, advanced legislation. And I thought, you know what, I know he doesn't have time for this, so I'll try to help him with a website. Well, I did that. And then I learned that he was in this ongoing back and forth with a state senator, and he had allegedly threatened her to the point where she got law enforcement involved. And rather than him try to resolve that issue in a respectful, calm manner, he actually copied me on some emails that he sent to her where he was arguing with her over the fact that she felt threatened. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not helpful at all. So I had to I called him out personally for his behavior. I said, I cannot be associated with this in any way. I'm not going to do your website for you. Here, we're going to transfer it to you. You can continue on in your own way, but I cannot in any way be associated with that behavior. And another thing was he was involved with this group where people were using the word murder. They were calling people killers. I didn't learn that until later. And I just had to say, that's not part of my advocacy. I don't condone it. I think it's totally counterproductive because then we all get painted with the same broad brush. I think the best we can do is loudly and clearly say, that is not what we're about. We're focused on saving the lives of animals, and we focus on saving the lives of animals while at the same time being hateful, threatening, and committing crimes against people. The two don't go together.
Yeah, and I do say this, I try to say this repeatedly online, is that, any violence is truly the antithesis of no kill, right? No kill is about, there should be no violence towards animals, right? So any threat of violence against any creature, human or other, or animal, would really be opposite of what we're trying to say. Now, Shirley, you actually come from an interesting place because you don't do a lot of social media, but you blog, and I have to think that you get messages and that you see this. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, with the blog, something I've noticed over the years is people very often have an initial gut reaction to a story that might come across as a threat, but really I interpret it as more of just blowing off steam, just a gut reaction. A lot of times I've noticed people will say when they read about, for example, an animal in a shelter who was harmed and ultimately killed, they will immediately come back with, well, the person who did that should get the same treatment, you know, and I know that that's not a serious threat or even a threat at all, in my opinion. But it's a gray area, to be sure. And so, you know, we're trying to differentiate between people who are just blowing off steam, having a gut reaction to something, versus somebody who is making an actual threat or bringing up violence. And those, to me, they're rare, but they happen. And like has been said, it reflects badly on all of us. So, and I think everyone in No Kill that I am aware of does condemn those kind of threats pretty severely and pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, so I think, well, I think the message from all of us, I think, you know, sticking with facts, you know, just facts, ma'am. So you just go that way, and not actually those personal attacks and threats. They are predominant out there with the gut reactions. I think, Shirley, you hit it on the head, and we got to watch out for that. And I think we have to keep saying it in order to try to get people to know the difference. And it's disappointing, actually, when I see leaders out there say, lumping them together, which is what I've seen in the past. But we're out of time. We have to go. Thank you for joining today. This is No Kill in Motion, here with Aubrie Kavanaugh from No Kill Huntsville, Shirley Marsh from Yes Biscuit, Alan Rosenberg from New Jersey Animal Observer. I'm Davyd Smith from No Kill Colorado. We'll see you next time.